Hey Internet, I'm Chaz.
And I'm Dan. Welcome to Wine and Serious Business, episode 349. We're back here today, doing some samples. I guess we probably don't need. Well, we'll keep.
Yeah, we don't need.
We're doing some samples today. We got into a bunch of them. We got kind of a mix. We got two in front of us, and then another third random wine we used to make the mix. Out of the samples we received, thank you very much to Randonee and to Ledger David from Southern Oregon. We picked our favorite bottle of the samples we received and want to talk about them on the show. Yeah. And we'll talk about wine number 3 when we get to it, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Let's start with this Sauv Blanc. So Kevin Green of La Randonee, we loved his 2014 Pinot Noir when we made it, and I talked with him, and he contributed these to the show. What was noteworthy here is we thought a Sauvignon Blanc made in Yamhill Carlton is kind of noteworthy. That's an area known for bigger, bolder Pinot Noir, and I don't think I've ever had a Sauvignon Blanc from that AVA before. I know a couple producers make Loyola Valley Sauv Blanc, but I don't know much about it. So this was exciting, and we also thought it was pretty solid. So let's get into it. What year? 16, 15? 15,
I wonder where
16?
Patricia Green's Sauvignon Blanc comes from. That's one I've had on a semi-regular basis, but I'm not sure where it's actually grown.
Yeah.
So,
and we could sit here and make you watch us look that up on our phones. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's easy.
We'll stay ignorant together.
Let me Google that for you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
This has opened up a little bit, even I think since we put it in the glass. Floral notes and just a little bit of fruit on the nose.
Yep.
A little bit of young peaches or like nectarines or something like that is what I'm getting, but not ripeness. I think a lot of times the more popular versions of Sauvignon Blanc are very ripe, and honestly, I'll even admit it's not necessarily fashionable, but I'm kind of fond of some of those too.
It's just got a strong lime component that's kind of just over the whole nose for me, but yeah.
A little bit of bear grass on the nose. There's floral notes that remind me of that as well.
Right. Yeah. Losing it on the show.
The palate's pretty similar to the nose. I think I'm getting those stone fruits again, but much fuller acidity. Straight up limes all the way across, very full, supporting the fruit, and gives it a real crisp feel. A little bit of that floral character lingers on the palate, but it stays light, kind of refreshing, and gentle, I think, which is a good contrast to kind of some of those bigger, heavier Sauv Blancs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I thought was most interesting about this wine when we were first tasting it was that it had a lot of characteristics that sort of reminded me not so much of Sauv Blanc. I mean, it had this sort of citrus components, the fruit components, but none of the sort of like grassy or sort of those sort of like typical components that you can get in Sauvignon Blanc. This is sort of like white pear, like you bite right into a fresh white like Asian pear early on, and then ends with a lot of like lime citrus notes on the finish. A very lightly textured white wine, like it just sort of dances, like the acidity dances on the palate. It's totally light, totally like lean and straightforward, but in a very good way. Like there's Malone wines that remind me sort of like a similar mouthfeel or similar acidity, like the way it kind of like is just refreshing to drink.
That's a really good comparison.
This is sort of where this is drinking. So if you like those sort of Malone wines, like it's Sauvignon Blanc, right? It's more in that sort of flavor profile, but just the way it's put together.
And I'd also say, Kevin's been making the white wine at Apolloni for a while too, and I know that they got some nice white wines there, and I'd say it's probably academically interesting for quite a few people to have Sauvignon Blanc from Yamhill Carlton, and I think this is well done, and I think a good data point at what we'll probably see more of in the future is something that can definitely be done well.
And what's the price point on something like this? Like I gotta feel like it's like around $20.
Yeah,
right?
I do. I don't know off the top of my head, but that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay, well if it's around $20, like this is a totally interesting white wine. Like refreshing and delicious.
Yeah. So, thanks, Kevin. Next up, we've got Ledger David. These were sent to us by the kind Dixie Huey of Trellis Growth Partners, who has been great fan and supporter of the show. I guess
thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll just shout out her and Carl Giovanti have been like the press people that have really embraced what we've done. So if you're in the wine business and are looking at PR or whatever, we encourage you to talk to either one of those two fine folks. We do
it right?
Yeah, we love the. So thanks, Dixie, for sending this. Some folks down in Southern Oregon. Had you heard of them before? I never had.
I have not. No. Yeah, I'm from Southern Oregon originally, so I tend to keep my ear to what's going on in and around Roseburg, but this is a little further south in Medford.
Right.
So
And it looks like they their first commercial vintage was 2006, and that they're
They planted this vineyard in 2006. 2009 was their first vintage.
there we go. Chaz has
Yeah.
reading comprehension is better than mine. They do a number of bigger red wines, as you'd expect, warmer climate grapes. The Syrah was definitely our favorite of the ones they sent us.
Yeah, it was just, we popped them all open, check them out, and it was like, if we're going to talk about one, we're going to talk about this one. So this is the 2014 Syrah from Ledger David. So
Also opened up a little bit.
Yeah.
Since originally, I think the nose is really great. If you're feeling a little purple, right, this is the way to go. It's
Sure.
definitely got some of those darker, riper fruits. A little bit of blackberry, a little bit of blueberry on the nose.
yeah, it definitely, like the blackberry blueberry thing is sort of strong. There's a little hint of like earthy funkiness, maybe
Yep.
like, I don't want to say like tar, but it's like some sort of like component like that.
I'm totally with you. I was going to say, I'm like, do I say it's kind of like blacktop? I'm like, no, not quite. But I
Right.
can't think of a better descriptor, so it's like,
Yeah, like a
it's
little
like
bit-
right on that border.
Sure, yeah.
And I know a lot of these warmer Syrahs can be really overwhelming in that sense, and this is not. This is just hinting at it.
Right.
And I also want to say, from looking at their press sheets, they grow these bigger red grapes, but I think it's typical for them to do a moderate oak program. So it was like 25
Sure.
to 30 something percent oak on these wines, and which again for bigger, heavier style red, it's kind of nice to see a little bit of moderation there.
Right, and I would say that it really has no influence over the nose, at least for me. Like, the fruit is definitely in the forefront. The sort of like tar, earthy elements are there, and none of the sort of warmth or roundness that you would expect from oak are really showing through the nose, which is kind of nice. You're just getting the fruit and the earthiness.
Yep.
And that's what I want in Syrah.
I get a little bit of that on the palate. Plenty of the dark fruit from the nose delivers, but I think the oak works well with it. And
It's just there on the finish a little bit, right?
yeah,
You got
yeah.
a little bit of it.
But it contributes a little bit of complexity. I wouldn't describe this as like exceedingly complex. There's not like a million things going on here.
No.
But there's still a few different notes, and I think it's striking me that it's pretty well integrated already, and the acidity is still intact for a wine of this size, which is nice to see.
Right, and this is a solid, like juicy, delicious Syrah. The mouthfeel here is really nice, but yeah, sort of straightforward.
Yep.
Right, just provides a good Syrah characteristic, like fruit profile and characteristic, but does have acid and enough tannin to back up the whole experience. I agree on the integration, like it's just ready to go right now. Yeah, just a really nice wine.
Yeah, it's a good pick, and excited to find out about a new Southern Oregon producer that's interesting to us. Definitely something we'll be looking into more in the future.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they can produce. Like, I think Southern Oregon is still trying to figure themselves out, right? Like Abasella kind of blew up,
Yep.
turned Tempranillo into the thing down there, but I don't think anyone else has really figured it out to the extent to really put the focus on it. Like, some
The
people-
wineries are doing well, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm always interested to see like really good expressions of Syrah coming out of Southern Oregon. So
Yeah, for wine number 3, we come back to an old friend of ours that supported
Yeah.
the show. It's really
Wolverines.
one of the key individuals in getting both of us into wine
Totally.
in any way, shape, and form. Look at this. We're getting a request for an off-camera pour coming out here. Big shout out
just gonna go for it, or
to, as Johannes Selbach says, Der Grosser Ewald, which translates to Ewald the Great, apparently. And this is Ewald Moseler's first personally labeled wine. That was
after all this time, first
yeah.
time. Okay.
Yeah, as an importer, he finally got his own label. Wine produced, wine produced in the village of Ursig.
Good spot.
I'm not sure if we can say the producer or not on camera, so I'm not going to right now.
Yeah.
But if you ask anybody in Portland, they'll tell you all about it. Definitely somebody that's well known, high quality producer, great wines. This is Erdener Treppchen, right?
Yep.
Right? Erdener Treppchen, the little staircase of Erden. So right next to Erzinger Würzgarten, for those of you who don't know, right in the heart of the Mosel, beautiful vineyard.
Like it really doesn't get more beautiful than
Yeah.
right there around Erzeg.
It's a great area. So it's really exciting kind of piece of Ewald story he's been importing for, I don't know, I think more than 30 years now.
Yeah.
Into the area. Really one of the cornerstones of Americans' love affair with German Riesling, which is, man, fantastic.
It's so lucky that we have Ewald here in Portland.
It's true.
Right? One of the first times I ever went to a tasting at Renaissance Wine Bar, it was Ewald was there pouring Riesling, And I showed up there early, right? Like I screwed up on the time. I was almost an hour early to the tasting.
Nice.
And Ewald's still setting up, and you know what? He just talked the whole time we set up. Tasted a couple wines ahead of like everybody else. It was just like the most magical experience because like he was just so excited to talk about these wines and like where they were from and where he's from, and it's just his personality is infectious. Like it's just
Absolutely.
It's so. I think it's part of the reason that I have the love affair I do with German wines. I know Dan's a big part of that too, but if you ever go to Germany, or if you ever drink these wines for that matter, they're hard. They're hard not to fall in love
And it's
with.
a Portland exclusive. You're not going to find this stuff in New York. You're not going to find this in Chicago or Houston. You got to reach out to the Portland retailers. Reach out
true.
to
Yeah.
the man himself to try and get a bottle. Let's
try it. Yeah,
let's taste this wine. Yeah. More lemon lime acidity on the nose. This is definitely young, so this is I think the first 2016 from Germany we reviewed.
Okay.
A little sulfur on the nose still. There was
sure.
more right
Yeah.
when we popped it, so we definitely shook it up a little bit, kind of blow that off a little bit. It's kind of a typical thing with German wines. A little bit of the fruit coming through, but there's not a ton of sweetness suggested on the nose. Not a ton of fruitiness on the nose.
Not entirely. I mean, I definitely agree with the sulfur. Like it's leaning definitely towards a little more like fresh apple to me, that not green apple or like a red apple. It's more like in the Honeycrisp sort of category, like a sweet apple, sweet white apple. There's a little bit of stone fruitiness to it to me, but it's more on the ripe edge. Just a little hint of that. But there's a strong sort of sulfur component, like happens with some of these German wines, but it's fine, right? But it smells absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And just fantastic on the palate, of course. Great acidity. There's a lot of acidity here, but it's blended well, I guess. Right, with floral flavors, with a little bit of ripe fruit flavors, and it's definitely not rich or really engaging in that heavy sense. The acidity keeps it taut, kind of, and engaging that way where you can kind of keep reaching for another glass and keep drinking some. I think the floral flavors linger more than anything else.
Yeah. The acidity definitely holds the fruit up the whole time here. And it's just so refreshing.
It is.
Maybe just because it's nice. Like this is like this is a perfect temperature to be drinking this wine, whatever temperature it's at right now. It's not completely refrigerator cold, but it's somewhere just above.
But I think a lot of people will complain about the increasing ripeness of the product out levels, right? Like Spätlese wines that are declassified to Kabinett, etc., where everything's really sweet, everything's really heavy. To try and draw attention that way, that's definitely not going on here. I feel like
No.
Yeah, like you said, this is refreshing, engaging, and you could drink a couple bottles of this back to back really easily while hanging out and chatting with people. And I think for most of us,
8.5%.
yeah, exactly, right, yeah, and so that's what a lot of us want out of a Kabinett.
Percentage of a strong beer, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so it delivers well, and yeah, of course, recommend it to anybody. It was kind of nice. We actually opened quite a few wines to narrow it down to these three, and we've got an interesting range here too, right? We got the Willamette Valley, we got Southern Oregon, we got the Moseler. In a lot of ways, this is representative of wine is serious business, and
totally, actually, yeah.
and so it's kind of fun to have these three on the table today. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this. Stick around, and we should have some more great interviews before I take off for a while.
Hope so, yeah. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.